Welcome to this episode of the Find Your Voice podcast. I wanted to talk a little bit today about who do you surround yourself with, or who are you surrounding yourself with currently? The truth is, the people that you have contact with every single day and who you deal with the most will have an influence on you. You may also have an influence on them, but most importantly, the type of people you surround yourself will totally determine the path you're going to be on going forward. In case you don't know me yet, my name is Freya Casey. I'm a professional singer and vocal coach from Germany, but more than that, I'm also very passionate about fulfilling all my dreams, living my best life, developing myself, and continuing to evolve in my consciousness. I might talk more about consciousness at a later time. For me, there's not such a thing as pure intelligence, because we know there are a lot of different types of intelligence. There is emotional intelligence, there is the logical intelligence, and a lot of times in these intelligence tests that measure your IQ, you only really look at the logical thinking power or the logical intelligence, which there's a lot more to our humanness than logical thinking, which definitely is important in this physical, real world. But there are different dimensions that I strongly believe in. Like we have feelings. And yes, they can be explained on a physical basis. There are hormones that totally will cause and trigger feelings. So it is explainable, but I deeply believe that there are other dimensions that we might not always be aware of, but the more aware you are, and that's what I mean by consciousness, the more you have awareness about all the different layers that make up who you are, the better you can actually maybe act in this world. And I don't want to say react, because we don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive and very focused and intentional, if at all possible. But today, this episode is supposed to be about who are you surrounding yourself with. Now, if you're a parent, you know this deal. I have an 11-year-old daughter. She's going to be 12. And then I'll have small twins. They're about to turn 2 years old. So for the twins, not such a big topic yet. But for my daughter, it's a big topic. And if you have, anyone who has kids, we all know that the friends they surround themselves with have a lot to do with the way they will act, the desires that they have. And of course, for kids, it's always that peer pressure a lot, especially when they're, in puberty. And my daughter is just now, she's getting into puberty. She's like really, she is not a little child anymore. And she has all these perceptions about herself and about the world. And she has her opinion, her taste, and all that. It's getting stronger and more pronounced all the time. But we all know when we have children that it's so important who they surround themselves with, because that's what they measure themselves by. Like they compare. And we all do that to some extent. We compare ourselves with the people who surround us that we jive with, who we have something in common with. So I'm confused now, because I'm supposed to actually, that's really weird. Okay, anyway. It's really important to understand that it has a huge effect. So we can, as adults, actually be more intentional about who we surround ourselves with. Now, in the case of my daughter, I don't want to go into detail because this is her personal information, but the friends she has definitely have a huge influence on what she thinks is quote unquote normal. What she sees her friends do, that's normal. So when she sees them do something, or let's just say her friend is allowed to stay up until 11 p.m. on a school night. When I tell her that is not acceptable because you need a bit more sleep than that, and I hope you get at least 9 hours of sleep at your age, she feels like that's not fair, because my friends, they are allowed to stay up till 11 and play online. So I try to explain to her, just because someone else does it doesn't make it right. We always have to ask ourselves, even if everyone else around us does something, is that really what we should do? Is it what you want to do? Is it what you should be doing? And, sometimes everyone else is wrong. What if everyone else is wrong? Just think back about, Hitler's time. How could all that happen? It was because a lot of people saw a lot of other people around them do things and they were okay with it and they didn't say anything against it. And it's like that lab experiment where the scientist, and it was, they had an actor, but the people that they used for these experiments, they were not aware that that person across from them was an actual actor, and that the scientist wasn't a scientist, but they were also part of this experiment. And so they were told, when this person gives you the wrong answer to the question that you're asking, like, they had a bunch of questions that we're supposed to ask them, you will give them, you press this button and it will give them an increasingly high voltage shock. So each time they give a wrong answer, it will increase the intensity. And a lot of people, they started being very uncomfortable. It's like, should I really do this? But this other person, apparently it hurts that person. And that actor was like really, increasingly, oh, that hurt. But they went along with it because the scientist said, no, it's okay. You have to do this. In order for this experiment to work, you have to continue to do this. And so they went along with it. Although their own consciousness, their own conscience and their own values told them that this is not right. They were very uncomfortable. But a lot of people start doing uncomfortable things just because the peers around them do these things. Now, let's talk about, we could look at it from the other side. If you surround yourself with peers who are doing things that are really helping you to advance, to do good things, to contribute something very positive to the world, to elevate yourself, to progress, to be more successful in whatever you want to do, to achieve your dreams. When you surround yourself with people who are equally high achievers, that will be the normal for you. So it's very important to select the group that you surround yourself with. So when you're always the best in the room and the most advanced and the most amazing person, that is actually not a good thing. It would, I remember, I always kind of my parents already did that. When I was interested in something, they would always give me opportunities. They were like, for example, horseback riding. I was all into horseback riding. And apparently someone saw some talent in me. I did dressage and the jumping. I was a legit equestrian for several years and I had 5 horses and I was on doing competitions all the time. And my parents didn't just let me be among the many and just go to group riding lessons. Because they saw I had some talent and that I had this desire and I was really willing to work hard, they wanted to give me opportunities. And it was a lot of it was my dad, actually. He would take me to always have one-on-one riding lessons. I had a personal trainer so that I was not the best in the group, but I was the only one. And I was really only surrounded by, and I remember we sometimes did have these group, for the jumping, we had these group riding lessons where, the teacher, he was like a German national champion and he had all these extremely expensive horses. My horse was what I thought back then really expensive, but you just don't even know. If you're not in the equestrian world, horses could be millions. Basically, you could buy a nice house for the price of the horse if you want a well-trained horse. Now, in these horse trainers, they are also highly paid. But I always was part of that group that, everyone had these extremely expensive horses and they were amazing riders. And I was the one in the group who kind of was the least advanced and I had the least trained horse. So I had to train the horse. But that's how I advanced so much faster. And same happened with music, actually. When I started in college and when I started, when I went to Southern Methodist University, it was intimidating at first because I was the least advanced. When it came to like any knowledge around singing, I had this talent of actually just singing. I just knew how to do it. I didn't know anything about it, but I just could sing. And so it elevated me it pushed me so hard to be surrounded by everyone who already knew all these things, who was so advanced. They all had done operas and competitions, and it pushed me so much harder. And so the question is, who do you surround yourself with? Now, we do as adults, we do have a lot of choice actually when it comes to the people we want to surround ourselves with. Now, if you have a full-time job, even then, it's not like we always feel like there's no escape, but that's never true. You are never the victim of any circumstances. I strongly believe that you are the only one who creates your own future. You're the only one. Your actions today will determine what happens tomorrow. To a large extent, there are some circumstances we cannot control. We cannot control other people. We also cannot control what happens in nature sometimes, or if a pandemic is going to hit. That is beyond our control, but the way we deal with it is definitely in our control. And the way we want to go forward, if we make plans, if we believe we can change the situation and then make a plan, and just think about how do we change. And I do this all the time. If there's something that isn't the way I want it to be in my life, I'm not going to get into the tech, but I use a tool called Notion. If you have never used it, or if you have only used it on the surface, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But this has changed my life. I literally create a Notion page for everything, like anything I want to remember, or a project I have, or a wish I have, or a dream or a goal, anything. I put everything in there. And I start thinking about, okay, this is not the way I want it. What steps will I need to take in order to get it in the right direction? Because I always think about, what do I want my life to look like in the future? Like right now, the way it is right now, I cannot change the past, but I definitely can change the future and the trajectory by the actions that I'm taking today. So what actions could I take today, or which actions should I stop taking? What should I not do anymore in order to get where I want to be? And it's actually a kind of a fun, it's not an exercise, it's a real thing. It's a fun process to just sit down and think about the things. And now when I look back and just create this project for yourself, it doesn't matter what it is. You can literally create a project out of everything. When you have a goal, if there's anything you want, you can break it down into little steps. And I have this course called, How to Achieve Any Goal. And that is just only the tip of the iceberg, but it's a free course. And I will put the link here, but you can literally achieve anything if you just ask yourself, what are the little steps I need to take? What is the thing I can do today? So if I wanted to save $100,000, excuse me, I don't start by saving $100,000. I start by saving the first few dollars. And then I ask myself, what is the time frame here? Like, how long do I want this to take in order to save X amount of money every single month or day or week, whatever you break it down into? What would that require me? Like, how much income would I need in order to put that much money back, and then reverse engineer? So in order for me to have that kind of revenue and income, what would I have to do to achieve that? What would I have to do? Like, who do I have to talk to? What are the people I need to talk to? Like, who can I help? It's always you get paid for helping someone, for solving a problem, or for entertaining someone. That could also be the case. But what can I do to provide some sort of value to some human beings on this planet that they want to show me their appreciation by paying money in return? And it's just a numbers game. And everything in this world is like there are actions you can take in order to get to any goal. I always say, like, you can achieve anything as long as it does not defy the laws of physics and biology, which in this physical body we are bound to. There are some things like I can't just lift off and fly through the air without like anything external. I also cannot breathe underwater unless I have like this tank hooked up to me and I'm actually breathing oxygen. So there are things that, like are required. But as long as what we want is not against all of the physics and the biology that we live in, really anything's possible. I strongly believe that. And you know how much fun it is every single day to wake up and ask yourself, what can I do today to live the life of my dreams? I think it's so exciting. It's just the best thing. And it starts in your mind. It starts right up here in your head. The idea is the birthplace of all the actions you will take in the future. And I think it's kind of fun. So coming back to this topic of who do you surround yourself with, ask yourself, where can you find those people who totally get you because they have the same goal? Like for anything you want, I mean, you might have to join more than one group. I mean, there's only one example. There are Facebook groups. So I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups and it's so awesome because you could find a Facebook group for literally anything. You can find a Facebook group not just for parenting because that's very general, but you can find Facebook groups that are very specific, parenting twins. That's like my thing right now because I have twin toddlers. Parenting twin toddlers. You can find a group for that. And those are the people in this case that I want to be in the middle of because we can help each other. And maybe some people are further along in the journey and they can share their insights, what has worked for them. So that's what I mean by up-leveling your peer group. Someone who knows how to get to the next step. And there are so many other things I always turn to, like, who can I talk to who has walked the path that I want to go on? Who has more knowledge about this? Who is better at this? Who is more advanced? Who has something to share about this? And sometimes I pay money for this. It might be a course. It might, take a shortcut. I could figure everything out myself, or I could just ask someone who's an expert, and that will just speed up the process. So ask yourself, who could you surround yourself with? But I have to say one thing. There are a lot of free things out there. And again, like I offer a lot of free courses out there, which is amazing to get started. But only I found this about myself. When I started putting real skin in the game, like serious money, by joining some groups that have like the highest achievers in them, that's really when I started seeing a big, big difference. And there's a lot of benefits in all the free stuff. I have taken part in a lot of free webinars, like training sessions, anything free, like free courses, a lot of value in that, a lot. But having access to an actual person who is the expert that I can ask about my very specific case, usually that costs money, but it has always resulted in much better results than me being on my own. And just like, sometimes it's not just about the strategy behind it, but it's about the entire mindset and the big picture that someone can help me see by just, talking about my path, my story, because everyone's different and everyone's path is very individual and it's unique. It's really unique. Everyone's path in this life is very unique. So who can you surround yourself with who could help you get on that path that you really want to go on? That's going to help you end up exactly what you've always, like, where you've dreamed of being. I think most people don't really dream of going to a job every single day. What, number one, they have to get up at times that they don't want to. Number two, they're not on their own schedule. Number three, they might be surrounded by people they don't really want to see every single day. And the next thing is, am I at number three? Number three or number four? They have to do work that they are sometimes frustrated with. And I know there are many people who actually love their jobs, but there are a lot of people who don't. And I think it's very, very sad. It's actually heartbreaking that a lot of human beings, like, you have this very precious, unique life that was given to you. And it's very finite in this life here as we experience it. We'll definitely, when we look, when we look at it like on a chronological scale, it will definitely end at some point. So what can you do in this life to make it, like, I always ask myself, when I'm on my deathbed and looking back, do I want to look back, and I really would like to look back and say, yeah, I made really good use of this life. I did a lot of the things that I've always dreamed of. It was exactly like I wanted to live it. I lived the life for myself, for my family, for my children, contributed to people's lives around me in a positive way. I may have changed a life here and there at some point, like some trajectory, by maybe having helped someone with something they may have not been able to figure out themselves. And then that would be, looking back, that would be like worth it. Then looking back, it was like, yeah, my life was really worth living because I feel like I lived it in the way that I wanted to live it. And when you're on your deathbed, no one, like we talk to, there are videos on YouTube about 100-year-old people looking back at their lives. What are their thoughts? Because they know they're at the end of their lives, their last days. You never know. Tomorrow, next year, when is going to be the end? But none of them ever said, oh, I wish I would have had like worked more or had more stress and like done vain things. But what they would have said is like, I wish I would have done the things I really wanted and not maybe worked my job even more. If you work, then it should be something that excites you every single day. No less than that. I cannot imagine not doing what I do because every single day I'm excited. Yes, I have to admit, there are days when I'm like, oh, do I have to make a video today? But then when I'm making it, it's like, oh my goodness, it's good. I enjoy this. And I enjoy it, the videos helping people. And then I get all these comments and all these emails of people telling me this has made a difference. And that totally makes it worth for me. I mean, I love my children dearly, but there are times when I'm like, oh, do I have to now change this diaper again? It doesn't mean I'm not going to do it, but sometimes there are things that come along with where we want to go and what our dream that might not be exactly what we've dreamed of. But the thing is that leading you where you really want to go? And I remember someone I used to know, haven't been in touch for years, but this person always talked about, yeah, I'm going to retire early, just a few more years. I'm going to retire early. And this person worked so hard at their job, basically doing everything just for the job. And it kept like that date when they were going to retire, it just kept always moving because I think in 2 years, I think in 1 year, I think in 3 years, I think in 5 years, it just never happened. And now, let's see how old. Well, we're not in touch anymore, but years kept going by. And I have another friend of me and it just never happened. I have another friend of mine who is constantly in stress mode, working not because he enjoys it, but working so hard that it not only stresses him, but it affects his health, has many times. And I'm worried because he's a dear friend of mine. But it's like he's not going to slow down. He's not going to change. He's not changing anything. So I'm like, if you don't want to live this way, you don't have to, but you're going to have to make changes and decide. In this case, he has like so many responsibilities. And I always tell him, what if you just get some of these things off your plate? Who cares? You don't have to please everyone. And a lot of it is because of this and because of that. And then I'm going to have tax advantages here and all the things. Oh, and I need to keep this and that. But at the cost of now he's had to have heart surgery. And I'm like always saying, this is not worth it. I don't want to lose you as a friend because you literally have worked yourself to death. My mother has a little of that too. She's almost 80 years old and she still works full-time in her business. I'm not going to go into the depth of that, but I mean, partially she loves what she does, but it's definitely too much physically on her right now. So she needs to slow down. We'll see. But just ask yourself, who are you surrounding yourself with? Do those people inspire you? Do they really, are those the people who live their lives exactly like you want to live it? Or even just one area of your life? Have they achieved something that if you were surrounded by them, they could elevate you? They could push you on. Maybe they could just encourage you, or maybe they could share some insights that could help you on that journey to get there faster. Because let's face it, we could achieve anything except our lives sometimes aren't long enough. So I could save millions if I had 200 years to live, but I don't. So, anything I want to achieve, I have to achieve that. Whatever I dream of, this dream will only be fulfilled if I can get there within my lifetime. All right. That's all for today. Everyone, keep on dreaming and dream big because dreams can come true, but it's all up to you. You have to take the actions. Talk later. Bye-bye.